So I think the main thing I'm taking away from this is it's kind of a similar Shadowbringers 2.0 kind of expansion. So similarly to how we went to the other shard in Shadowbringers to kind of stop the light overtaking and overcoming the entire world. It seems like we're doing a similar thing, but instead of light, it's cold. And so it's kind of like they're trying to kind of revive the game with a Shadowbringers kind of style expansion story. And so here we're seeing the memories of the Warriors of Light in every expansion. So what this kind of gets across to me is that this is like the final expansion of Final Fantasy XIV. As we know it, everything's kind of combining and going to consolidate into one world. And maybe the Warrior of Light's going to sacrifice himself at the end of it or something. Like, it's quite a somber, solemn, melancholy kind of track, right? Like, they're framing it like this is all the stuff in a past world. We're in a new world now. And so I think this could be the final expansion, probably, right? And then we're going to usher in this new world, you know, Final Fantasy XIV 2 or something. I could be wrong though. I mean, they put a lot of development effort into this one, right? It'd be kind of weird for them to suddenly just just move on. So we saw this channeling rod. And then it sort of creates a water rune kind of elemental type thing. You can tell it's water because there's sort of bubbles all around, so you know, it could be like lightning or something like that, but I think it's definitely water because you see all the bubbles. And it has a water splash sound effect as well. I think the bird is a red herring here. People watching it, I've seen reactions, they think it's like you're controlling the bird, but I think the bird is a red herring. I think the bird clearly got attracted to her yellow scarf there. You can see the yellow scarf she's wearing. The bird's trying to get that. Like you can see there, the bird flies in and sees her yellow scarf and wants to get it. And then she sort of like accidentally pulls in this water element from her channeling wand. So I guess you could call that a wand, right? It's a wand and she's pointing the wand at the sky. That pulls in some kind of ether. Like it's probably pulling in the ether that is strong in a particular area. And so whatever ether is dominant in that area, it pulls that ether in and channels it. And so I guess that could be really interesting if the class is based on location. Maybe certain dungeons have different dominant ether. So if you're doing like a earth dungeon, you pull in like earth or something like that on your wand. But I think the bird here is just a random bird. I mean, the bird does have armor, which makes it seem like maybe it could be related, but I think the bird is meant to just like red herring, right? I think it's not related to the job. I think the job is some kind of elemental channeling ranged DPS, right? Oh no, they did say it was a ranged DPS though. Did they say it was physical ranged? I don't think they specified. So I think it could be, this is like a channeling elemental thing. You can see in the beginning, she's pointing the rod into the sky. So it's kind of like almost like a weather stick, you know, if you're measuring the weather, measuring the atmosphere. She's almost like pointing it into the atmosphere and it's pulling in the water element because she's currently in the new water zone. Like this zone that she's in is the water ship, I think. And so it could be maybe it's not, it looks like it. Could be wrong. But I think she's in the water ship. And so she pulls in the water element. So that, like, I guess activates. So I guess what happens is she channels, pulls in the water element, and then maybe that will modify all of her abilities in that job to like a water style ability. Maybe it's similar to Summoner in that sense, where you pull in the summon, you summon like Garuda or something and everything turns air. Maybe it's similar to that, where you pull in a water element and your abilities modify to water. Maybe it's like you pull in elements from different mobs. Like maybe enemies, you pull in their elemental type. so you can like draw elements from enemies and stuff or other players. So that one I think is definitely the second new job, but I think, yeah, not much information you can really gain from this. Kind of need to see the next fanfest to find out. And then obviously we saw the Gunbreaker, Bastion. Man, the music they played on this was so ominous. So yeah, you can swap between gun stance and sort of blades fist stance. So you have your like shield stance activation thing, so I guess he presses that button. And that will give him, I guess, like reduced damage taken or something. Like, is that your tank stance, maybe? I don't know. Your threat generating stance. And then that's your typical throw ability. That's your, like, you know, your axe throw, whatever. So you just press that. That's your charge ability, so you press it and you charge and close, like this, a gap closer. This looks like a, and this is in the evolved combat system, so this will just be one button that you're pressing. And it's like a button that you just press, and it's the same 1, 1, 2. You just press 1, 1, 1. Builds up. Because it looks like he's just doing left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand, so it's just the same ability maybe? Or is it two different abilities? And that's building up a gauge, I'm guessing. And then this is like the final hit of it, so you do like a 1, 2, 3. You do like a 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the gap closer, and then that's like a one action, one other action. Is that pretty fast though? I guess they did say they're lowering the GCD in the new system, right? So he does like 3 hits and then 4 hits. So he does 4 hits and then he spends it. Or maybe he just has to build up enough gauge to use it OGCD or something. Looks like that final hit is the OGCD, the jump up and slam. And then there's a stance swap, so he swaps into range stance. And I'm guessing this is like increased, probably reduced defense. So you have reduced defenses, but you have increased damage output. And so this is probably useful in the phases of the boss where maybe you're not standing near the boss. So you'd swap into the stance when you're doing like a mechanic or something. And then you just have a bunch of damage abilities. And you have like a shield maybe, and maybe that applies to other party members. Maybe an AoE ground thing. So yeah, that's the Bastion. Looks pretty cool. Soken did this track in a single day, and it's so beautiful for the player hub. I almost hope that is the track that is in the town. It's so good, right? So yeah, I mean, it looks like a nice hub. I like it more the second time I watched it, actually. When I first saw it, I wasn't actually a huge fan, but seeing it a second time, looks like a nice, comfy place to just chill. This is a controversial one. So they talked about auto-moving to quests. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's fine. I mean, yeah, you know, running between quests is tedious, so I probably won't use it that much, but maybe if I'm going to go, I want to go get a snack or something, I can just auto-move while I go to the bathroom, whatever. So this was another really great feature they mentioned, was the same region player matching. So this means in Europe, you match with anyone in Europe. You know, in NA, you match anyone. You can match with anyone in NA. I think this will really open up Party Finder. Loads more groups, loads more options. I think this is one of the top features they're adding. They also talked about Chocobo companion overhaul, so we're going to be able to bring We're going to be able to bring chocobos into dungeons. We're going to be able to, team up with one person and have two chocobos, two players. I think that's really interesting. And then the whole chocobo breeding system, the way you level up chocobos right now is kind of tedious, I think, right? So they're probably going to look at that and change the commands, give them like more battle choices and stuff. So yeah, I think it's nice that they're looking at all the old systems. The difference in completion rates for normal and savage only being up to 20%. I mean, I think that's higher than I expected it to be. But I think, I don't know, objectively, adding a new difficulty level, it makes sense. They're adding a new difficulty in between normal and savage, sort of like a middle ground for people who don't have time to spend out on doing savage and things. Yeah, I think objectively it's a good addition. Bridging that gap between the two difficulties, letting people build up to savage level gear. They don't feel like they have to commit and jump straight from like normal, which is really easy, right? Normal's really, really easy, up to savage, which, in the final boss can be quite difficult. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good change. Initial reaction to this was probably it just adds too many levels to it, but I think overall it's just going to help people who don't have time to do savage, myself included.